Sometimes we must react quickly to get out of danger. This is the job of the reflex arc. The hot metal activates pain receptors and a nerve message travels up a sensory nerve and into the spinal cord. The nerve impulse is quickly routed through an intermediate neuron and into a motor neuron, which runs straight back to the arm muscle. The connections between nerves are called synapses. Chemicals flow across a tiny gap and trigger a signal in the next nerve cell. During a reflex arc, a signal may be sent to your brain. This gives the sensation of pain. But long before you feel the pain, the reflex arc activates the biceps muscle and pulls your hand from danger.
What is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's is a slow, fatal disease of the brain affecting 1 in 10 people over the age of 65. No one is immune. The disease comes on gradually as 2 abnormal protein fragments called plaques and tangles accumulate in the brain and kill brain cells. They start here in the hippocampus, the part of the brain where memories are first formed. Over many years' time, the plaques and tangles slowly destroy the hippocampus, and it becomes harder and harder to form new memories. Simple recollections from a few hours or days ago that the rest of us might take for granted are just not there. After that, more plaques and tangles spread into different regions of the brain, killing cells and compromising function wherever they go. This spreading around is what causes the different stages of Alzheimer's. From the hippocampus, the disease spreads here to the region of the brain where language is processed. When that happens, it gets tougher and tougher to find the right word. Next, the disease creeps toward the front of the brain, where logical thought takes place. Very gradually, a person begins to lose the ability to solve problems, grasp concepts, and make plans. Next, the plaques and tangles invade the part of the brain where emotions are regulated. When this happens, the patient gradually loses control over moods and feelings. After that, the disease moves to where the brain makes sense of things it sees, hears, and smells. In this stage, Alzheimer's wreaks havoc on a person's senses and can spark hallucinations. Eventually, the plaques and tangles erase a person's oldest and most precious memories, which are stored here in the back of the brain. Near the end, the disease compromises a person's balance and coordination, and in the very last stage, it destroys the part of the brain that regulates breathing and the heart. The progression from mild forgetting to death is slow and steady and takes place over an average of 8 to 10 years. It is relentless and, for now, incurable. Helping your family, friends, and neighbors to better understand Alzheimer's will reduce stigma, improve care, and even help the fight for a cure. Thanks for helping to do your part.
Strokes can happen to anyone at any time. They sometimes begin with a sudden and powerful headache that can feel like a thunderclap.
My head really hurt. It was hurting. I never had a headache so bad. It's like it just wouldn't stop. It was just pounding. Right here, it was just pounding, pounding, pounding.
The symptoms can be large or small. Blurred vision, loss of coordination, trouble speaking, or numbness on one side of the body. An ischemic stroke occurs when an artery in the brain becomes blocked, cutting off the blood supply. When blood flow is blocked only temporarily, this is known as a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. Though these are referred to as mini strokes, TIA shouldn't be taken lightly. They may be a warning that a full-blown stroke is on its way. The second type of stroke is a hemorrhagic stroke. This occurs when a weakened artery in the brain suddenly ruptures, flooding the surrounding brain tissue. Regardless of the type of stroke, the results can be devastating.
After a stroke, about half the people cannot walk normally. After the stroke, about a fifth to a quarter of folks cannot talk normally. A third of them may have significant depression, and a quarter to a third may end up in a nursing home.
The most important thing people need to know about strokes is that 80% are preventable. The first step toward avoiding a stroke is to identify your risk factors and get them under control.
Up to the front.
There are also certain lifestyle choices that can help reduce the chances of suffering a stroke.
Diet and exercise are extremely important for preventing the risk of stroke as well as heart attacks. We know that good diet and good exercise reduce other risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol.
When a stroke does occur, a variety of treatment options is available. These include clot-busting drugs, minimally invasive procedures, and emergency surgery. The key is seeking help immediately before too many brain cells are lost. Stroke victims who receive prompt treatment have the best chance of recovery.
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, is a serious neurological disease that affects the ability to move. It is also called Lou Gehrig's disease. ALS affects people of all races and ethnic backgrounds. It mostly affects people between the ages of 40 and 60 years old. Men are more likely to get ALS than women. ALS attacks the neurons that control muscles, the motor neurons. Messages from motor neurons in the brain called upper motor neurons are transmitted to motor neurons in the spinal cord called lower motor neurons, then passed on to the muscles. With ALS, both the upper motor neurons and the lower motor neurons die and stop sending messages to muscles. Symptoms. Symptoms of ALS usually occur very gradually. At first, they may be mistaken for symptoms of other, less serious diseases.
Epilepsy affects nearly 3 million Americans, but who is really at risk?
Epilepsy can develop in any person at any age.